This week, Columbia Mayor Bob McDavid announced he will not run for re-election. This morning, ABC 17's Ashley Strohmeyer sat down and talked to him about his reasons for not seeking a third term, as well as his time serving as mayor.
So let's get right down to your decision that you just announced this week not to seek re-election. You and your wife decided on this. What was the reason behind that?
Well, you know, I think it's 6 years is a long time, and it's been a terrific 6 years. I've enjoyed it. It's been very rewarding, very satisfying, and sometimes challenging,
yeah,
as you would expect. But I think it's time for my wife and I to move on to different challenges. It's just time, and personal reasons basically are behind it. And Columbia has been a very successful community for generations, and it'll be successful for generations ahead. And there are very talented, qualified people waiting in the wings to carry the torch.
I gotcha. Okay. And then as far as your time as mayor, what would you say is your biggest accomplishment in the 6 years you've been mayor?
You know, I tend not to look at that way. People say, what's your legacy? What's your biggest accomplishment? We've accomplished a lot of things, but I think a lot of it gets back to perpetuating the culture that Columbia has itself created over the generations, that of a very successful, diverse, creative, innovative college town. I think beneath the surface of that, we've had to deal with some financial challenges. We tightened the budget. We've run some surpluses. We have solved the retirement plan problem that we inherited that actually most cities around the country are not. And I think it's probably underappreciated the impact that will have in the future on the city of Columbia. We've worked a lot on job creation, and I'm pretty proud of the fact that you know, a year and a half ago, Columbia received the designation for cities under 200,000 as the #1 job creator and #1 for economic growth. That involves a lot of people. That's just not me.
Right.
You know, I guess if you're identified as the coach, it's kind of nice to have good players, right? So that's kind of that's one of the nice things about being mayor in a town like this, is that there are a lot of very successful people moving the city forward.
And now, shifting gears, what would you say is probably the biggest disappointment as mayor?
You know, I don't view things, I view it as challenges, and some challenges are unresolved, and I think the challenges that are unresolved are the same challenges that many cities have. The funds that pay for firefighters and police officers are in Columbia generally from sales tax, and every city, every state is dealing with the fact that, you know, we all buy stuff from Amazon. And e-commerce has really taken a big chunk of sales tax revenue away from cities and states. And that represents a challenge that's going to have to be resolved at the national and a state level. I'd say another challenge, I really felt like we never solved the public transportation issue in Columbia. Our model is different than the model of many successful Midwestern college towns, and that needs to be fixed. And those models involve collaboration between the university and the cities, and we've just not been able to achieve that yet. I don't view that as a failure. I view that as something that inevitably will have to happen. It didn't happen in my term. It'll have to happen in the future.
Right, and do you think that, you know, passing the torch along to the next mayor of Columbia, do you think they have pretty big shoes to fill?
No, I think the culture takes care of itself. And again, it's, you know, I was an obstetrician. I never liked to take credit for labor that went well, because I was basically, my job was to stand by and watch something happen that was happening very successfully. And that's really the case of Columbia. Columbia's a very successful community because of the culture that Columbia has, a successful university. I've always said Columbia is really kind of a company town. If you're going to be a company town, it's nice to have a successful company. I think one of the challenges Columbia has had is dealing with the growth in the student body at Mizzou, which was really unanticipated. It's been a challenge, but I think it's a challenge that will lead to more success in Columbia.
All right.